Well, three powerful interventions. From Masha, we heard, to more or less quote her, that in Russia there's a substantial degree of freedom of expression, but not freedom of the press. In other words, the media, the news media, journalism, cannot hold power to account in the way that it classically defines itself in a free society. From Gorgi, a view that in some ways this is normal, that in Russia there has been a history of press control, press censorship, and there still is. But also, it seemed to me, an expression of some hope that there is a difference now. The rise of the internet, the active bloggers, 10 or 12,000, who are beginning to have influence, yet at the same time, he asked the question, is that a substitute for real engagement in politics? Clicking a mouse is not exactly changing things, at least not immediately. And then finally from Luke, the view that what's happened to him is indicative of a society which is becoming increasingly repressive, not just of its domestic critics and domestic journalists, but of foreign ones as well, that the FSB is becoming the crucial institution in an opaque society, and that, disturbingly, if it's true, that the Western media are themselves becoming, perhaps even unconsciously so, self-censoring about certain issues, like the FSB, the wealth of Vladimir Putin, and the war of the Caucasus, which, as he says, is better covered from Moscow, in their view, than actually going down there. So it's a rich field to discuss. Over to you to do so. I'd urge you not to be too long in what you say. If you're asking a question, which I urge you to do, mention if you want it to be answered by one particular, member of the panel, and please say who you are. So, over there. Yeah.
There's a microphone coming.
Yeah, wait for the microphone.
My name is Simon Pirani. I worked as a journalist writing about Russia and visited there regularly, spent 2 or 3 months a year there from 1990. Wrote a lot in business magazines that not many people read, unlike Luke. I wrote a couple of books about Russia. While researching one of those in 2007, I met with people who somebody obviously thought I shouldn't meet with, and this was outside of Moscow, which I think was an important part of the story. And the next time I tried to enter the country, I had a similar experience to the one that Luke had at Carnegie Airport, was put back on the same plane and haven't been able to visit a country which I feel very close to and have many friends in since that time, since March of 2008. So, I mean, that's just my sort of personal experience, and it was very everybody sort of, I came back and everybody said, well, what did you write? And I really don't think it was what I wrote, because you kind of get a feeling for that. It was who I met, and those people themselves were under surveillance. I went to a town to meet people, and the whole 36 hours I was there, I was constantly under very kind of vulgar and obvious surveillance, and then came back. I'd just like to make 2 other comments, if I may. I mean, one is, stoke a little debate maybe. I mean, people have drawn the contrast between Yeltsin's Russia and Putin's Russia in respect to the media, and certainly Yeltsin's personal commitment to the mentioned, that's true. Certainly the TV, the NTV episode was very, very crucial in the independent TV being sort of brought under control, the state exerting its control and so on. But I think in other respects, it's not much different. Firstly, Chechnya, which is a huge source of censorship and attack on all kinds of human rights. I mean, that was started under Yeltsin. Secondly, the physical attacks and threats to journalists, which is an extremely, perhaps the most effective method of censorship. That was there already in Yeltsin's Russia. And I mean, the other comparison, which I feel very strongly about, is Ukraine. We did a lot of work through the International Federation of Journalists, the National Union of Journalists, on the case of Georgy Gongadze, who had his head cut off, who set up Ukraine's most successful political website, which today just beats all the others in terms of ratings. Ukrainska Pravda, have a look at it. After his murder, a tape was released showing the president and his cronies talking about take this guy out and deal with him and all this kind of language. But when we were trying to work on that case and pursue the officials who were responsible, the worst kind of cover-ups and so on were done not under Kuchma, but actually under the Yushchenko